Hi, boys and girls. It's our first lesson in math for Unit 1 and first lesson in math for this year that we're doing through a video. Um, you're going to find these lessons each day in our classwork tab under the week of 9/21 to 9/25, or whatever the current week is going to be. You're going to find lesson 1-2 right here. Right now it's a draft. I'm working on adding a few more things to the lesson, and this video will be included in it. You're going to click on this virtual classroom. You'll be able to watch my video, which like you've already done, and then you'll be able to get right into doing some work that goes along with that video. So that brings up that I'd like you to have right now a piece of paper, pencil, or a whiteboard and marker to help you work through any of the problems that we do together. There will be some points where I actually have you stop the video and you need to think about an answer. Okay? All right, let's continue. Let's get into our math lesson today. Our math message related to lesson 1-2, place value concepts, is, well, a couple questions about these two numbers. And I'm not going to read the numbers to you because that is going to be a part of your thinking. I want you to read these numbers to yourself, and I want you to ask yourself which number is larger and about how much larger. So look at these two numbers, read them to yourself, and then think about which number is larger, how much larger, and then how would you explain how much larger it is to a friend, to someone you're trying to teach this idea, and try to think about how you would explain it. What numbers would you use to help describe it, and what would you say in order to help compare them? Okay, so we're going to pause. I want you to think about those answers, and when you're ready, you can put down your answer and we can continue. Okay, so which number is larger? Well, I hope that you recognize that this number had 6 digits and this number had 5 digits. And we remember what digits are from our conversation on Friday about how they are the symbols that make up numbers. And they're kind of like how letters make up words. Well, no, digits make up numbers. And this number is 463,850. And this one is 46,385. So what would we look at to help compare these two numbers? Are we going to look at any particular number or any particular place? Yes, that's one of the key words, place. And I'm going to write that along the side here so we remember. We want to think about the place, and we want to think then also of the value of the number because of the place. The place helps decide the value, okay? So let's take a look at the 4 in both of these numbers. What places are they in? Are they in the same place or are they in different places? And then what would be the value of those two 4s? I'm going to have you pause again, and I want you to record what you're thinking. Okay, so the two 4s. This one is worth, let's turn back the pen. There we go. This one is worth 400,000. And this one is worth 40,000. And we can compare those two, and we can easily see that 400,000 is greater than 40,000, right? And that's why a big reason why 463,850 is bigger than 46,385. Okay, so that is the key piece in why this number is bigger than that number. Okay, now how much bigger is 400,000 versus 40,000? How would you say one is bigger than the other? What way of would we compare them? There's actually two ways that we can compare numbers. We're going to get into that much later in the year. But this number, 40,000, and this number, 400,000, we can compare with multiplication. And how much bigger is it by multiplication? Well, it is 10 times bigger. That's right. So we have the 4 in the 10,000s place and the 4 in the 100,000s place. And that is 10 times bigger than that. All right. So next, we're going to think about a new number. And it's a smaller number. It's only 7,692. Okay. But I want us to break down each place of the number. Okay. I want us to look at each place, and I want us to think about what their values are. Okay, so we have the 7 in the thousands place. I'm going to choose another color for each one. We have the 6 in the hundreds place. This is going to get a little bit messy with my pen tool, but I think we can make it work. We have a 9 in the tens place, and we have, I already used green. How about turquoise for the 2 in the ones place? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. Back to pen tool, and I'm going to go down like that. So 7 in the thousands place. What is its value? 6 in the nines place. What is its value? 9 in the tens place and 2 in the ones place. Well, let's write that all out. Okay. Come on. There we go. So our 7 is 7,000. That should be a 7. And the 6 is a 600. There we go. And then we have the 9 in the tens place. And then we have the 2 in the ones place. Now I stacked them up so we could easily add them up. And if we did easily add them up, we would get then this number all over again, right? But what if we didn't stack them up just yet? What if we wrote them out going across? Do you know what that's called? When we write each part of a number, if we break it apart into each place and what their values are, and then we wrote it like this. We wrote them like this, and then we could say it's equal to, But we don't even need to say that it's equal to, because this part on this side of this equation here is a certain type of form of way of writing a number. And there's lots of different forms of numbers, and some of them are almost ones that we use all the time, like this one is called standard form. And then we might write it out in words, and that's called written form. This one here, this one is known as expanded form. And I'm going to actually use my typing tool here. I'm going to write it out because expanded form, right? And that is what I wrote just there. And I'm going to give you one more number, and I want you to try to write it in expanded form. And that is the way we're going to wrap up our little video lesson today. We're going to write that in expanded form, and then I'm going to give you a quick little preview of what the math journal pages are going to be like for when you work on them either later today or tomorrow morning. Okay, so let's take one more number, and I want you to write it in expanded form. Okay, so let's stick with a 4-digit number, and let's do. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to turn my pen tool back on. There we go. All right, let's do 3,487. So I'd like you to write down this in expanded form. Okay, did we get our answer? So I'm going to write it actually with the text tool, just to kind of show you that we can do it even with that. All right, and we're going to do 3,000. I'm going to include the little comma. Plus 400 plus 80 plus 7. And that right there is the expanded form for that number. Now, if I was going to do it in written form, I would think about how I'd say the number out loud. And we will write 3,487. And that is how you would write it out in, actually, I don't think you need that comma. That's how we would write it out in written form. So we have standard form, we have expanded form, and we have written form. Okay, so let's take a quick look at our 2 journal pages related to lesson 1-2. And they're pretty lengthy, and the second page is much more of the extra work and the extra challenge, but I definitely want you to try to work on that first page and see how far you can get on the second one. And it has to do with hockey games. And remember going to sports events? Remember going to other things like that? Well, attendance is kept when we go to sports events. And oftentimes you go through and they scan your ticket and they collect all this information and they add it up over the course of the year to see how many people actually come to the games. Well, that's where they're using this information here, okay? And the first few questions are really just comparing the numbers. I'd like you to go through and work on comparing. And if we remember that the less than symbol and greater than symbol should have the alligator's mouth going towards the larger number, right? But down below here, we're going to be using this table to help us answer our questions about the largest attendance for hockey teams in the 2013 and 14 regular season. So the first question, number 5 in this section, says, which team had the largest total attendance? So there's a lot of big numbers in this table here, but I want you to try to find the biggest number. And I want you to think about why it's the biggest, okay? And then which team has the smallest, and you go through that list again and try to find the smallest. And then we're going to start comparing different teams. Like we have Philadelphia, and we have Minnesota, and we want to compare those two teams. Notice how I underlined those words. Sometimes we can underline, sometimes we're going to circle, sometimes we're going to box in words. And I'm going to talk to you all about that later in the week. Okay. But anyway, after you figure out which one's greater, I want you to think about how do you know? And that's the real key piece with a lot of math this year is going to be answering how do you know? Okay. So I'd like you to work on these journal pages. I'd like you to try to answer as much as you can. And when we say comparison number sentence, right down here, I'm noticing part B. There should be two numbers, and there should be either a greater than sign or a less than sign between them. Okay. One or the other. Okay. And then they're going to have you compare some more teams. Okay, Vancouver and Montreal. And then on to the next page, they are going to have another set of teams and another comparison. And then the last step, the last challenging step, is to put these teams in order from greatest to least attendance. So the greatest is going to be in the top, least is not going to be on the bottom. All right. Good luck with this. If there are any parts that were confusing or things that you had a hard time with, we're going to go over it together and work on it together. But I'd like you to try to work on this as much as you can and have it ready for our discussion as a group. And you can show me your answers through the camera. We can even take pictures with our camera. And I'm going to show you that another day. But good luck and have fun.